Two beloved game titles, both of them having won the Game Awards, came out with the reveal that they used AI. Let's get into this. And before we get into this, disclaimers: one, please don't send hate to anybody. Please do not do that. Also, number two, thank you for bearing with me as I was filming, as I'm traveling. I got back to LA from Japan finally, and I will have to travel a little bit to visit my family for Christmas, but sorry for all the weird setup stuff going on. Thank you for bearing with it. So this all kicks off with a Bloomberg article that was tweeted onto Twitter by user Cami13, writing, Larian CEO confirms the studio is using generative AI to explore ideas, flesh out PowerPoint presentations, develop concept art, and write placeholder text. Now let's run this back real quick. What is Larian? For those that don't know, Larian is a studio that made the ever popular Baldur's Gate number 3 that won numerous awards, the Game Awards in 2023, Game Developer Choice Awards in 2024, and the BAFTA Game Awards in 2024, amongst other awards they won. It was extremely popular. And in this year, 2025's the Game Awards, they announced that they were coming out with a new title by the name of Divinity. And I think they were estimating a release time of 2026, maybe? So the Bloomberg article is a conversation between the author, who goes with the name Jason Schreier, with Larian's co-founder and CEO and creative director, Swen Vinke. So in it, they were talking about the game development process, Divinity, and how Vinke wants to speed up the game development process because Baldur's Gate took 6 years and they want their new game to be around 3 to 4 years. And what they're doing to speed up this process. One of them being hiring more writers, but another one is the fact that Vinke is pushing hard on Gen AI. Also noting the fact that technology has not led to big gains in efficiency. He also says that there won't be any AI generated content within Divinity and that everything is made by human actors, but the creators themselves use AI to explore ideas, flesh out PowerPoint presentations, develop concept art, and write placeholder text. And that at the studio there has been pushback about this, but that Vinke feels like everyone's basically accepting Gen AI now. So in the comment section, Cami added a release from Jason Schreier with the full transcript of this segment of the conversation, where JS is Jason and SV is Sven, where Sven is basically again stating that generative AI is used for things like whiteboxing, but that again, he feels like it's not really speeding up the process and that concept artists are using it and that they use it for exploration and that some scripters might be using ChatGPT for placeholder text. And Swen adds that it isn't really speeding up the process again. Jason pushes back, mentioning how, hey, like Gen AI is poisonous and controversial, right? What about Photoshop? And Swen basically states that you have to match the progression of technology or you're going to get left behind. So with this, people obviously were not very happy to find this out, where people are saying things like, it was my dream job to be a concept artist for video games or movies, but the thought that this could be completely replaced with AI, and then having the CEO claim there wouldn't be Gen AI in it is disheartening. Another user says, just hire a damn artist, it's not like you're short money. And I mean, that is very fair given the fact that they made a ton of money off of Baldur's Gate 3's success, and they have Tencent backing them up, which is a major Chinese company. And basically, the Bloomberg article also expressed that Tencent gave them a fair amount of money. Other people who are very big fans of Gen AI are basically expressing, you got to keep with the times, otherwise you will be left behind. Then in a fit of upset. This seemed like it was an attempt to clear the air by Larian CEO, and then it came off a little abrasive. But Swen on Twitter writes, holy F guys, we're not pushing hard for replacing concept artists with AI. We have a team of 72 artists, of which 23 are concept artists, and we are hiring more. The art they create is original, and I'm very proud of what they do. I was asked explicitly about concept art and our use of Gen AI. I answered that we use it to explore things. I didn't say we use it to develop concept art. The artists do that, and they are indeed world-class artists. We use AI tools to explore references, just like we use Google and art books. At the very early ideation stage, we use it as a rough outline for composition, which we replace with the original concept art. There is no comparison. I talk about how we use machine learning here if you would like to know more, linking a GameSpot article. We've hired creatives for talent, not for their ability to do what a machine suggests, but they can experiment with these tools to make their lives easier. With this, people, again, were not happy with this sentiment for, again, a various number of reasons. Onion person says, all and any use of generative AI for artistic ventures is repulsive to consumers and bad for artists and creatives. Any company that embraces Gen AI practices loses my support immediately. RJ Palmer writes, if you're using AI to generate ideas to explore, that is using AI in your game. This is a duplicitous spin to say otherwise. The entire history of creative industry happened just fine without using AI. There is no need to shoot your game in the foot by using it now. And Reed Southern adds, what tools do you allow them to use? Are you aware that there are no ethical AI image generations and they plagiarize by default? Even if the design is done by an artist but heavily references AI, do you know this still opens you up to potential liability? And basically, in the article that is linked, Swan once again states that the machine learning is used for whiteboxing and that he emphasizes he's hiring more people, not less, due to the use of AI. One add that he understands there are red flags to consider with generative AI. Again, that kind of rubs salt in the wound because people who already weren't happy about Larian revealing the fact that they are pro use of Gen AI in at least in the conceptual phase of the artwork. People are adding, use AI tools to explore references. How the hell am I doing more thorough research for my Yaoi fan art than Larian is doing on the actual game? And they have a photo of a pile of books that they're likely referencing for their fan art. And RJ quote retweeted this writing, and for context, they are a concept artist. They add, the thing that's so insidious about using AI in this way is that one of the main ways artists get hired are studios looking for art references and they find us and reach out. This is removing a major avenue to get work if they can just generate nameless derivations of our ideas. And RJ adds, like, man, my career only exists in the way that it does now because a production designer was Googling realistic Pokemon and found me. If he could have just had a machine spit that out, I never would have gotten a job. This is a major issue hitting artist discoverability. I find so many artists I've never seen before when researching references on every single painting I make. This is the way we make connections. Using Gen AI to make references is creating unseen missed opportunities at unprecedented speed and removing one more human element of art making. And another Twitter user, D2, posts and writes, I hope people, especially leadership, will one day understand that people aren't just against Gen AI because it looks bad. They're against Gen AI because it's fundamentally unethical. Any usage of these commercial Gen AI services support theft and cause environmental harm. They add, me being against Gen AI isn't just an aesthetic choice, it's out of principle. I don't want to knowingly and voluntarily support corpos stealing from my peers without consent. It's not just about visual art either. This is all mediums, writing, music, you name it. Sometimes I bring up being an artist to people IRL using AI, and they're like, quote, well, I don't use it for art, end quote. It's still the same database, it's still the same theft, and it won't engage in the attempted normalization of all of that. If Larian Studios wasn't enough, we have another game that is also extremely popular that has made a ripple on the internet for also their announcement of the fact they've used AI. Or I guess it was like not an announcement, but it was found from an article from like July of this year. Twitter user Gene Park writes, Expedition 33 team freely admitted to using AI and just won the most awards ever in the game award history. So what is this referencing? Well, it is referencing Clear Obscure Expedition 33, setting a game awards record, winning a total of 9 awards and the game awards for 2025. This also sparked like a separate controversy on Twitter because people on Twitter were like, cool, the game is good, but like, should we really let a game win this many awards at an award ceremony? I'm curious about your thoughts about this, to be honest, because like on one hand, I do get it. Like if you are deserving of this award, right? Like, should there be a quota to say, hey, maybe stop winning because like you're too good and like let's give space to other people. But also at the same time, an award ceremony like the Game Awards is a really great opportunity for games and stuff to get their name out there, and it would be good promo for, you know, if you already won like 5. So I'm just curious about your thoughts. This is a complete side tangent, but I like competed in speech and debate for 7 years, and then in my local league, they stopped giving me awards because they're like, dude, you keep getting first place, so we're just gonna like not give you an award so that other people don't feel bad. Dude, this is just like middle school stuff, but it's just funny. But the article in question is written by George Morla, which was again posted July 19th, 2025. It talks about Gen AI being used in a creative field with films and things like that. So this is the quote where the producer of Claire Obscure says, we use some AI, but not much. The key is that we were very clear about what we wanted to do and what to invest in. And of course, technology has allowed us to do things that were unthinkable a short time ago. Unreal Engine 5's tools and assets have been very important in improving the graphics, gameplay, and cinematics. That's where the screenshot ends, but there is like a extra note after it that says when he mentions assets, he's referencing to pre-built 3D elements like a house, a tree, or a path that can be used to build scenes, significantly reducing production costs. So another user, Elia, quote retweeted this saying, Expedition 33 director Guillemine Roche said that they are strictly against using creative AI, but you won't see accounts like this share articles like that because it doesn't suit their agenda. Where again it says, Roche made it clear the studio does not want AI involved in anything creative and isn't interested in anything made by artificial intelligence. One other thing to note in this discourse is like the notion of like all AI is bad. Again, I do think that there are uses of AI that can be a lot of good. AI was used to discover like over a million protein sequences, massively expediting scientific discovery. Good. Generative AI that is trained off of people's artworks to make stupid SpongeBob memes and like stuff in games when you could have hired an artist. Not good. Distinction. But here, Broche continues, nothing in the game will come from AI. We state this clearly. It is a firm no for us. And another user, Juliet Jones, adds their 2 cents saying, my genuine take on this as somebody in game dev is that people don't understand the last part of the quote in Gene's tweet. Roche specifically references Unreal Engine's tool suite, which allows for plugins that use generation to speed up processes. Those tool references contained assets from their own database to create what you need as placeholders in your game. Roche being against creative AI tells me that they're not on Gemini or ChatGPT creating assets for placeholders, and they're most likely using Unreal Engine 5's tools and third-party plugins to do this. There are also assets available on the marketplace in Unreal Engine that are generated with AI. I personally have only used Unity, not Unreal Engine, and this was when I was in college, so before generative AI was a thing. So I cannot say whether it is a true or a false statement, but the article did state that by mentioning AI, they were specifically referencing Unreal Engine's asset base. But that actually wasn't really the case. It turns out that in the release, they accidentally left in AI generated placeholder images. We have this tweet, and I am so sorry. Their user is Jiria2, and I'm not gonna pronounce their name correctly. My brain is too sludgy. I just came back from Japan. I don't know if you guys ever have this when you travel to a country whose language you don't speak, but like I feel like your brain regresses in your native language when you come back. I was gone for like 3 weeks, so now I'm like, English, yes. Like I have to be able to read again. But Jiria writes, I mean, there was literally Gen AI in the game during the first week after its release. You just can't deny it because somebody said, quote, no, we don't do that, end quote, during an interview. And this is the image in question, where as you can see, all these poster assets are generated. So this now begs the question, was this generated using like, I don't know, Google Gemini? Was this somehow related to Unity's asset generation that just made it into the game? I don't know. Another user, Leon Mandela, writes, and this one went viral, seeing the company who won the best community support actually lose the community support in one afternoon is bizarre. And Alessandria adds, waking up to both Larian Studios and the Expedition 33 team admitting to use of Gen AI wasn't on my bingo card, and I am so immeasurably disappointed. I am so tired of AI being shoved down my throat by every app and website. It is so harmful to the environment and Black communities and steals art from real people. This includes your cute little AI profiles and silly memes, by the way. And I thought this was interesting. A user asked, can you educate me on how it harms Black communities specifically and not any other? And Alessandria adds, Google works wonders, but the data centers they build for AI are built in marginalized communities, ruining their water and creating massive amounts of pollution. Memphis is a good example. There is very little to no regulation on it, and the companies don't care about the damage they cause since the land is so cheap. I personally need to do more research into where they are building these centers, but I will not be surprised if it's encroaching on marginalized communities because, of course, but I can say that very, very large companies that are very pro AI, we have Meta, Google, a bunch of those other companies, they are building massive amounts of data centers because the whole thing about AI is the fact that you need data centers, right? And the government, the US government, is very complicit in this. In fact, they actually signed a bill like teaming up with these AI companies, being like, yeah, we want to partner with you for like hundreds of millions of dollars so you can build these freaking data centers. And just one of the data centers that is going to be built in 2025, don't really know if it has been built yet. It is estimated to require the same amount of power as Lower Manhattan for just one data center. Of course, there's little to no regulation on it. In fact, there probably won't be for a hot minute because the government is very, very gung-ho on funding this. But finally, this is like a common sentiment that people have. This is posted by a user by the name of Samuel Deeds writing, if you're using generative AI for concept art, then yes, you did use AI generated content in your game. What the hell makes you think visual artists don't deserve the same respect as actors and writers? And this is the big point of debate on the internet where people are basically saying, well, it doesn't matter if you used Gen AI in your process, as long as it doesn't end up in the final product, then it's okay. People like Samuel are expressing the sentiment. Does not matter whether it ended up in the final game or not. The fact of the matter is, you used it in the process. So you can't say you never used it. An analogy is like a bodybuilder who's used steroids. I was like a gym rat for a hot minute, and I'm maybe in 2026 the gym rat era will come back. But this is a hot thing in like the fitness community of like, are you natty or are you not natty, right? Because like a lot of the sentiment is, if you've taken steroids, you are no longer natty, you're no longer natural, right? As in you built your body up without the assistance of steroids or something else. If you stop taking steroids, you can never go back and say, oh, I never took steroids, because you did. You can't ever say, I'm natty ever again. You have used it at some point in your fitness career. It's kind of like the same thing, right? Like you can't really say you never used generative AI because you did use it. Like it doesn't undo that, you know? And I just think it's a slippery slope, and a lot of people on the internet also feel the same way, where it's kind of like it's a slippery slope of like, well, let's use it in like a little bit of like exploration for our concept art. And then but you know, like right now it can't do what we want it to do. Like it's not in a sentiment of like, oh, we don't want to use generative AI because like it will not have a place in my game, but more so we haven't used it as much as we want to because it just isn't quite there yet. But if it is there, we're gonna use it, you know? That's kind of what it feels like, and it does not feel good. I'm just curious about your thoughts about all of this. Again, don't send hate to any parties involved, and thank you for bearing with me as this. Also, trust me, I swear my makeup looks normal in person. My camera washes me the hell out, so it looks like I arbitrarily placed blush on my face. I swear it looks blended in person, I promise. Okay, but if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Thank you again so much for bearing with me with all my travels and stuff like that. Check me out on Etsy. I have digital art there for streamers and creators. I also have a coffee with free resources. I am trying to get my Instagram to 100K. We are so far from it, but maybe one day. And yeah, I stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. I'll be consistent when I'm back in January because right now I have to go visit my family. But anyways, hope to see you guys in my streams or in another video. Peace.